Hi there. Today we're going to make a simple basil pesto sauce. We're going to start with some fresh basil. If you grow basil in your garden, you've probably noticed by now that it's just about ready to be harvested. It might even be starting to go to seed, and now's a perfect time to make pesto. You don't even have to use all basil in your pesto. You could use other herbs, you like sage or thyme or even parsley, and add to your basil if you don't quite have enough. I've got about 6 cups right now in this bowl. We're also going to use half a cup of pine nuts. I just toasted the pine nuts lightly in a dry pan before we got started. Pine nuts can be really expensive, so you feel free to substitute walnuts or even cashews or use a mixture of both. And we're going to use some Parmesan cheese. I've got about half a cup of Parmesan cheese, about a clove of minced garlic, half a cup of kosher salt, and a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. The olive oil is what determines the consistency of your sauce. A 1/4 cup of olive oil will give you a sauce that's more of a spread, and if you use more, up to half a cup of olive oil, that'll give you a thinner pesto that you can use more as like a sauce for like pasta or vegetables. So what we're going to do to get started is I'm going to put about half of the basil into the food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you could use a blender, or if you really want to get a workout, you could use a mortar and pestle. And to that, I'm going to add all of the nuts, all of the cheese, the garlic, and the salt. And then we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to process this a little bit just to get these first ingredients blended. Now that these are finely chopped, we're going to add the rest of the basil. And we're going to process it again. And this time while it's processing, we're going to drizzle the olive oil slowly through the feed tube. And at this point you can check it and see if it's the consistency that you like. This would be a really good pesto for a spread. If you wanted it a bit thicker, at this point you could add another 1/4 cup or so of olive oil. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to show you how to save this so you can use it. Alright, the best way to use pesto is to actually use it as soon as it's been made, when it's nice and fresh and bright green. It doesn't really keep well for a long time, but there are ways that you can make it last. If you want to save a little bit, you can always fill a small jar with some pesto, and once you get it in the jar and flattened out, you drizzle a little bit of olive oil over the top and put the lid on and keep this in your fridge and use it within 2 or 3 days, or you can put it in your freezer and keep it for a couple of months. Another way to freeze pesto is to take a small sheet pan like this and spread your pesto over the sheet pan. This has been lined with parchment paper. And you pop your sheet pan into the freezer until the pesto is firmed up, and then you can cut it into chunks and put it in a zip top bag and just break off as much as you need for a recipe or a soup or whatever you like to use it for. Or you could freeze it in ice cube trays. The ice cube trays, the little blocks take a lot longer to defrost than if you just have a flat piece of pesto that you want to defrost. And after a couple hours, this will be frozen and ready to store. So there's a couple of different options what you can do with your pesto after you make it so you can enjoy it longer. And I hope you tried this recipe and enjoy your fresh basil in your garden, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.